Long enough for folks to join us. Good morning and welcome to today's Centurion Research Solutions webinar on how to identify and use customer, competitive, and pricing intelligence to win more business. I'm your host, Rich Thielen, General Manager here at Centurion. I appreciate everyone joining us for what will be an information-packed session. A little bit of background on Centurion. We provide leading-edge business intelligence with our biNow product that enables you to find more federal opportunities earlier. We offer actionable insight through custom research and analysis and pipeline development. Our Opportunity Assessment Now tool enables you to make fact-based bid, no-bid decisions and manage the health of your new business pipeline. Finally, we offer pricing, training, and coaching to improve your business development process. Together, these services were created with one thing in mind, helping you, our clients, win business. This is the 7th in our Government Contractor Knowledge webinar series to be conducted by Mike Lisagor, Centurion's Government Business Development Subject Matter Expert. Mike founded CelerityWorks in 1999 and has been helping companies accelerate their revenue growth for decades. We are recording today's event. An on-demand copy as well as a copy of the slides will be available tomorrow on Centurion's website. Finally, in consideration of your busy schedules, we will be continuing this discussion at our company LinkedIn profile right after the conclusion of today's webinar. So without further ado, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Rich, and the several hundred of you who have joined us today, both individually and in large group settings. This morning I'll be discussing different ways to gather and use business intelligence data. This is, of course, a critical aspect of major business growth tactics. I'll cover many of the questions from the registration forms, and we'll also be happy to respond via email or at our LinkedIn group after today's presentation. Successful government contractors know how to gather marketing information necessary to inform the 4 major business development opportunity phases shown here. Today I'd like to explore some of the major sources of marketing data. Of course, I recognize how easy it is to become inundated with marketing information. But what separates winning companies from losers is the ability to turn this data into actionable intelligence. So I'll also talk about how to use this data to develop successful capture strategies. The best business leads often come from relationships with existing clients. A good relationship with a client can mean they'll push opportunities to you that are typically not advertised. This information can be uncovered by project managers, account managers, or your company executives. This should be an integral part of a strong business growth culture. Many thousands of contractors use market research firms like Centurion to identify new business opportunities. I'll discuss this further in a few minutes. Business development professionals at other contractors can be a great source of marketing intelligence. Meetings with these individuals should be part of your marketing strategy. Furthermore, their websites, press releases, and financial publications can shed light on their contracts as well as their frequent teaming partners. Other sites, such as Dun & Bradstreet, and news outlets can reveal if a company has any significant issues with labor or credit that make you think twice before pursuing a specific contract or teaming relationship. Finally, consultants with current agency contacts and knowledge can also be a real asset. Government bid announcements from websites like FedBizOps are an important source of opportunities. Although many times by the time a lead is announced, other companies have already positioned themselves with the customer. There are other government databases such as CCR and FPDS, soon to transition to SAM, that can provide information about competitors and teaming partners. Also, the GAO bid protest docket and excluded party list system can provide useful insights into an agency's contracting environment. More and more agencies are posting new business information on their websites, including lists of incumbent contractors, budget and program forecasts, and organizational contacts. Government Accounting Office reports can also provide useful agency program insights. Trade periodicals such as Washington Technology and Signal Magazine provide in-depth coverage of our market and often provide useful marketing intelligence. Even news organizations that aren't focused on the federal government may include nuggets of information. Local newspapers can be a great resource for future construction projects, as well as providing local firm does good contract announcements. Small businesses will want to acquaint themselves with their target agency, small business advocates. Often, but not always, these individuals can be very helpful in pointing you in the right direction and letting you know about upcoming procurement. Many agencies hold recurring seminars and webinars about doing business with their agency. These are great for new firms entering the federal market, and in some cases a good place to meet potential government buyers. Lastly, there are numerous government-sponsored Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, or PTACs, across the country. They can be helpful to companies new to this market. Centurion incorporates FPDS data into our biNow database. This allows our clients to make more informed business decisions. We also provide key agency budget and competitor pricing data, a crucial aspect of business intelligence, especially in light of decreasing federal budgets. Now let's look at how this budget and spending data can help you to develop winning capture strategies. Here's an example of using this budget data to identify which projects are most likely to have early recompetes. In this example, an information technology services contract could expire in 3 years or sooner. As shown here, if the contract is reported an amount close to the spending ceiling, it might end early and not be recompeted. Or, if as shown here, the reported spending is on track, then the contract will most likely run its full term unless the incumbent contractor is performing poorly or the project hit with unexpected budget cuts. Finally, if the reported spending is well below the budget baseline or expected spending, then the contractor may be in trouble, or the program may be in jeopardy, or a target for restructure or early recompete. I used data from real FPDS reports from our biNow database for this slide, but redacted the company names to mask the identity of the successful and failing contractors. The first slide presents a simple view of spending data, which allows you to identify those companies that have received the most total tasking in dollars on a multiple award contract. This is basic information you'll need to understand to know who to have teaming discussions with, if for no other reason than to gather program and competitive intelligence. Now this display, based on actual data from a major contract vehicle, is even more illuminating as it shows spending by company for each year and each generation of a multi-award contract. The ebb and flow of spending over the life of a contract tells a story. Is spending consistent and likely to have a follow-on contract of similar value and scope? Is there significant incline or decline in spending over the years? And how has each company fared over the contract duration? All of this information may affect your follow-on capture strategy, so let's take a quick look at how well each of these companies has performed. Company A held this contract as a single award for 10 years until it was recompeted as a multi-award contract in 2007. However, Company B and C slowly took away the tasking over the next 4 years, and then Company A was not awarded a contract on the next recompete last year in 2011. On one hand, Company A might be an excellent teammate on the next recompete since they know so much about the contract vehicle. However, they may have also swallowed a poison pill due to poor past performance, or they may have suffered from an inability to compete in an increasingly cost-competitive environment. After doing fairly well, Company B also didn't win a follow-on contract in 2011. Other than being the color yellow, I'm not certain why they didn't win their recompete. Company C has continued its momentum into the recompete and 2012 tasking. They will be the most likely winner on the next recompete and would be a team to join if there's an opening. Company D won a contract in 2011, in large part due to hiring away Company A's well-liked project manager, who was frustrated with a lack of internal corporate support. Let's look at one other example of the evolution of contract tasking for a multi-award contract over a certain number of years. Knowing the top contractors on a contract such as shown in this real architectural, engineering, and construction example is an excellent way to identify potential competitors and teaming partners. Current contract holders with significant, steady reported spending as well as continued growth are more appealing as potential teaming partners, though it may be harder to become part of their team unless they have a few underperforming subcontractors. Current contract holders who have received less spending, decreased spending, or didn't even make the top list shown here may be riskier teaming partners, but they may be hungrier for new partners assuming the client hasn't had negative experiences with them. This contract was recompeted in 2008 and has an RFP scheduled for early 2013. Company A was very successful as a small business contractor but outgrew its size standards. It wasn't able to compete as a prime contractor in 2008. They continue to get some tasking as a subcontractor, however, and may be credible as a full and open prime contractor on next year's recompete. So this would be an excellent company to talk to about teaming. Company B, C, D, and F have maintained consistent performance and task awards over the years. Company E promoted its project manager to a director position in another division and has been struggling since with employee dissatisfaction under the newly promoted PM. This is something they'll need to fix if they're going to win a recompete. Finally, Company G is a good example of a prime contractor that replaced a few of its higher cost subcontractors for the 2008 recompete to become more cost competitive on individual task competitions. The result for them has been very positive. So let's switch gears and discuss some of the basic opportunity information that you'll want to collect and status in your lead tracking system and for your bid review discussions. This is an example of an Army opportunity which you can download after the webinar. Here's an example of an opportunity report for a Navy Seaport E C4I engineering sales lead from our biNow database. It provides valuable information such as who's the client and what's the name of the opportunity. Here's an example of the acquisition type and statement of work. Who are the incumbents and their contact information? What are the key acquisition milestones, the dollar value, the current acquisition phase, and key government contacts? All of this information is necessary to determine if the lead's a fit for your company and to inform your capture and teaming activities. This table illustrates a typical opportunity list derived from a keyword search on architectural engineering. biNow concentrates on sales leads that are 6 to 24 months out, so you can have sufficient time to position your company for a competition. Opportunity searches can be limited by agency, geography, services, and small business status. So let's assume you've uncovered a lead that seems to match your capabilities and target agency. The next step is to qualify the lead. The purpose of this phase is to gather marketing intelligence necessary to inform a decision whether to commit more significant resources to capturing the business. The necessary data is usually collected from market research firms, prospect visits, agency websites, and meetings with business development professionals at other firms. It can be useful to start with the 10 key factors that influence winning from our Opportunity Assessment Now product. Ultimately, the key question is how do you maximize your proposal score in the eyes of the buyer? Let's look at the type of information that you'll need to gather for each of these key factors. In order to determine your company's ability to submit a credible bid, you need to understand the problem an agency wants solved, including the contract viability and funding, the client's hot buttons, what keeps them up at night, and contract vehicle preferences. Some specific areas to explore are your company's prior and current relationship with the customer. In the case of negative past performance, some damage control might have to be done to rebuild a positive relationship. There are also cases in large companies where one business unit is not aware that another business unit has business in the same agency. I see this a lot. Therefore, it is vitally important that all sales activities within a single agency are well coordinated. The purpose of understanding the competition is to gain the insight necessary to formulate a strategy and assemble a team that will beat them. This slide lists several sources of competitive information. A few of these are research databases, agency website listings of contractors, budget forecasts, freedom of information requests, trade magazines, and outside consultants. Searching for already awarded contracts in biNow is another excellent way to gather competitive data. Some key competitive questions you should ask are, who are the current contractors? And can you determine how well they've performed on the current contract? Are there any key personnel that are viewed as indispensable by the client, or who they would like to disappear? What type of procurement will this be? Full and open, multiple award? Who are the most well-positioned prime contractors and subcontractors? Identify all the companies you believe might or will bid on this opportunity. Gather any marketing intelligence that will help you understand each potential competitor's strengths and weaknesses. Sources for this include meetings with all the key industry players, assessment of contract documents such as award fee write-ups, and meetings with the client. Use high, medium, or low, or a numerical score to rate each company or team's competitive strengths. Then ask yourself how you can offset their strengths and take advantage of their weaknesses, or maybe even team with a strong competitor to limit the competition. Teaming is one of the most important aspects of a capture strategy. I devoted one entire webinar to this topic and would recommend going to the Centurion website Knowledge tab to watch webinar 3 for further information. But today I'll focus on gathering and analyzing teaming information in the next few slides. There are numerous ways to find teaming partners. A good place to start is with the contractors who are already doing business with the target agency, either as a prime or subcontractor. Agency websites and market research services like Centurion's biNow are also valuable sources as are agency small business advocates, especially the ones who are actively advocating for small businesses. The government-run Central Contractor Registration site, soon to be integrated into SAM, contains a searchable listing of all government contractors by service. Any long-term government marketing strategy should include consistent networking with companies who work with your target agencies or in your service or product area. Here's a similar but modified table that you can use to evaluate the teaming landscape for a specific opportunity. So first, develop the winning criteria for subcontractor, teammate, or prime contractor selection before selecting the teammate or prime. These criteria should be based on stated and perceived client needs as a result of reading procurement documentation and client visits. Next, assess your company's ability to meet the key win strategy criteria and any gaps you need to fill with other teammates. Then, evaluate each candidate company against the same criteria using high, medium, or low, or a numerical score to determine the best fit. As shown in the first green column, it appears that Company A has either high indirect costs or high labor costs based on their low ranking in cost competitiveness. Company C, in the second green column, lacks the necessary depth and technical capability to be of any value to your company. Company B and D might be good teaming candidates. However, Company B was the first choice since they didn't overlap with the prime contractor's core capability as much as Company D. And although not apparent from this matrix, they fulfilled the socio-economic set-aside requirement and were a great future strategic partner. Once you've agreed to team with a company, make sure you develop effective statement of works for the area to be subcontracted out. My BD coaching clients have used this type of analysis on numerous occasions to assemble winning industry teams. Avoid teaming just because it's somebody you already know. Team to win. Data like clients' organizational and reporting structure, as well as their major program management systems, tools, and processes should inform your approach to how you will propose managing a project and project staff. Here's an example of the kind of client technical information you'll want to know when bidding on an information technology contract. Similar information should be gathered for more complex A&E, engineering, and construction bids. The federal government has entered an extreme phase of cost competitiveness, where a majority of bids are being awarded on the basis of lowest price technically acceptable. This means you need to have competitive pricing information readily available in order to develop winning pricing strategies. Centurion's pricing experts can help you identify the government's available funding and should cost for specific pursuits. Determine whether your current cost pools and bidding practices are competitive in your target market. Identify existing contract labor rates, as well as your competitors' labor rates. Determine the price you will need to win. Let's discuss these information needs a little further. Research biNow, agency, and other government websites for data and metrics for the target pursuit, and then analyze the award tendencies of the target agency to determine likely available funding for the target pursuit. This also helps determine the ceiling price and confidence factor for the target pursuit and aids in your no-bid decision and bid pricing strategy development. Performing a specific analysis of what the government believes the pursuit should cost based on past performance and future influencing factors also helps you develop your pricing strategy. The process used is highly dependent on the dynamics of the individual pursuit. Too often, companies don't take the time to analyze their own cost pool structure and cost elements, as shown in this example, from a design-to-build project. This assessment should then be related to the bidding practices related to these pools and disclosure statements, details, to determine if the rates are competitive in a particular market. If you are consistently losing on price, trying to move into another market segment, reorganizing, or transitioning from a small business to a large business, then a company pricing analysis will determine if your pricing is competitive and what you need to do if you aren't. We can help you if you lack the internal resources or bandwidth to perform this analysis. Perform reverse engineering on existing contracts in your market and service area with available financial information to determine burden labor rates, direct labor rates, average rate per hour, and total contract value. This provides you data to assist in determining whether to bid on a recompete or similar contract, and if so, what competition, including the incumbents, might bid. Of course, all information you need isn't always available, but if not, our pricing experts can often ferret it out. Here is a list of competitive pricing data. Research GSA and other rate schedule, labor category, burden rates, excuse me, for specific service areas and target agencies. Next, map these labor categories to various salary surveys and calculate the burden for each labor category. Identify and discard gamed or unused labor rates, and then average remaining rates into competitive wrap rates. This analysis provides you with insight into the wrap rates and bidding strategies of competitors. Clearly, all of this analysis can be overwhelming, but especially on highly competitive bids, the hard work has been proven to pay enormous dividends. Here's an example of biNow competitive pricing data from a real multiple award contract, just to give you an idea of what's available. There are many factors that should be evaluated to make sure you understand customer, agency, and contract. Try to identify the customer's typical award criteria for the specific type of contract you're interested in bidding. Also, how sensitive is the agency to price, and what are the key pricing elements most likely to impact your price? Consider what the risk is to your company for the contract type, project deliverables, and schedule. Understand how an agency runs a procurement, what the stakeholder and evaluator concerns are, and some background on the likely selection official. As you can see, pricing your bid is more critical than ever. To summarize some of the key activities necessary to determine your bid price, analyze competitive landscape, analyze the customer's view, their likes and dislikes, Determine the agency's pricing award history. Model the competitor's pricing. Develop a cost basis and justification. Model your bid price. And consider your ability to successfully perform at the bid price, especially on fixed price or performance-based contracts. This slide provides a very simple view of a possible outcome of a competitive price assessment based on the information described in the previous pricing slide. It summarizes the results of an analysis of the government's most likely should cost estimate and a determination of the most likely competitive range for source selection. By understanding where your company falls in the competitive range as it relates to the customer's probable should cost and the likely competitors, you can determine if you should even bid the job, and if so, what changes or actions you might need to take to your capture strategy, including your staffing mix to achieve your target price. If this contract was a best value procurement, then your company's position as shown here on this slide might be sufficient, assuming you have outstanding key personnel, client relations, and past performance. On the other hand, the delta between your price and company A and B's prices probably won't allow the government to award you the contract on a lowest price, technically acceptable procurement. There are, of course, many more sophisticated pricing tools and methodologies, but for many smaller contractors, even a simple cost-competitive exercises such as this can make a big difference. I hope this webinar has in some small way helped expand your awareness of the information that goes into developing a winning bid strategy. Please join me on September 18th when I'll explore the probable agency winners and losers in the next fiscal year, and most importantly, what you can do about it. You'll receive an email tomorrow with the registration information, as well as the links to download these slides and watch a recording of this webinar, as well as our 6 other previous webinars. Feel free to email one of the individuals shown on this slide for further information or support. A copy of today's slide will be available at this web address listed here, and a recording of this session will be uploaded by tomorrow. Based on today's attendance, I again recommend registering early to guarantee your virtual seat. I'll leave this slide up for the next 5 minutes. And until September 18th, I thank you for your attention and happy hunting.
Mike, thank you so much for the valuable information. It was fantastic. And thank you to all the folks that attended as well. We look forward to seeing you or hearing from you for our next webinar that will be held on September 18th. Thank you again.